Cool. Well, let's go ahead and get started. It's getting a little quiet. Hey, y'all. Welcome to NC Biotech. I'm Chase Barnhill. I'm the Associate Director for Workforce Development here at NC Biotech at our RTP location. We're kind of statewide. Our main focus here at NC Biotech, for those of you who don't know, we're kind of an economic development hub for the state of North Carolina, specifically in the life sciences. And I get the wonderful privilege of when companies move here, there's a lot of jobs, and I get to connect people to training and job opportunities, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit before we kick off our wonderful session today about what are the resources that are out there in case you guys haven't heard of them. So you've probably been getting a lot of emails from like Pearl Sullivan or Susan Langford. They are my wonderful colleagues. Typically, they run these sessions. We do this once a month. I think it's every third Thursday of each month. But I'm stepping in for them today. And like I said, I'm excited to talk to you guys about this because this is kind of my bread and butter. So first resource for you. If you go to ncbiotech.org, you will see a little hovering icon at the top that says careers and training. It's actually a really good resource if you're a job seeker or you're wondering like what are the training opportunities that are out there. So I'm going to dive into a few of these I think would be really relevant for you guys, and feel free to take notes, but we are going to record this session and then post on YouTube later. So if you guys have any questions, don't freak out and feel like you have to take all the notes in the world. We will share this out with you. So when you go to ncbiotech.org, you can go to that careers and training. I think something really, really relevant for you guys, if you're a job seeker in the room, this is a great resource. So it is under our career center. And so basically I like to look at it as like a job board. And so if you go over to the icon that says join talent network right here, that is a great way to sign up for job postings. And you can make them very specific to the kind of jobs that you're looking for. And you can like create your own profile. I think it really helps you stand out and be more competitive in the market because you're actually seeing there's a ton of jobs out there. Speaking of, there are 840 life science companies in North Carolina. That's a lot of companies. That's a lot of jobs, which is really awesome, but it can feel really overwhelming to try to find like all the jobs that are out there. So this is a great resource. Speaking of all those companies, so 840, like I said, life science companies, and it's growing. So a great way to do your research if you're a job seeker and you got an interview with one of these companies and you're like, I need to do my research, I want to learn more about them, or you're just like, I want to know what's in my community, what's in my backyard. The company directory is a really great resource. So we have an awesome, awesome research team here at NC Biotech that is updating our company directory constantly because companies come in and come out all the time in North Carolina, and a lot of jobs come in and come out all the time as well. So company directory is great. You can sort it by the type of company you want to look at, what kind of specific work are they doing. And what it doesn't show here is right below the type and category is region. So if you're based in RTP, you can select RTP. If you're out in the eastern part of the state, you can select that. In Charlotte, specific regions that you can click on to really filter down your search. Career Development Network. That's what you guys are at today. So I'm not sure how you heard about it, but this is another great resource that's right there under careers and training at our website. So right now you're in the using AI to advance your job search session. We have, like I said, we do this once a month, every third Thursday, I believe. So we have another session coming up soon as well. I think it's also dealing with AI, but I'll go to that at the end of the session so you can see the specific date for that. But yeah, this is a great link to look at if you want to look at what are our different sessions that we have coming up. What have we had in the past? You can click on those, and they're the recorded sessions that I was just telling you guys about. Find your community. Another cool resource we have here at NC Biotech is exchange groups. Exchange groups, we have them located in different regions of the state. So like I said, I'm based in the RTP region. That's kind of our main region of NC Biotech in the work that we're doing, but we have different regions across the state. And so we have this exchange group where it's like kind of finding your people. So we have things like Triangle Biotech Tuesday, Women in STEM, Women in Bio, like find your people. And this is a great place to also network, get to know folks in your community, in your region. Feel free to share this with other people. If you have friends, family members who are like, I want to get involved too. I'm also looking for a job. An exchange group is a really good way to network with people. Something I think would be really cool for you guys. If you want to stay in touch and you want to see what's going on in the life sciences, because like I said, it's pretty dang vast, but really awesome that we have this here in North Carolina. The Dish is a bi-weekly newsletter that we have. So you can scan that QR code to sign up to receive the Dish. We include job postings in different regions. So if you don't want to like go to the job board all the time, this is something we send out bi-weekly. It has jobs, it has, big life science announcements. So who is moving to North Carolina? Who just announced more jobs or an expansion of their site here in North Carolina? What are the training opportunities? Any biowork courses that are happening at different community colleges. Biowork is a great certification program that's offered at 14 different community colleges in North Carolina. And so all you need is a high school degree, and you can start making $45,000 plus with a biowork certificate. It's really, really awesome. And if you don't know about it, we talk about it in the dish. It's on that careers and training website. So definitely take a look at the biowork course if you haven't heard of it. It's really to help you get into that step into roles and careers that are in manufacturing, because that's where a lot of jobs are in North Carolina, is in the manufacturing space. But yeah, definitely sign up for this. Like I said, we're going to record this, send it out. So if you don't have your phone on you to scan a QR code, that's okay. Really, really cool. Other resource, we have a LinkedIn group. It's called the Life Sciences Career Community. There are over 2,500 people on this. Why is this great for you? Because if you're here and you're a job seeker, or you just want to network with people, that's the space to do it. So we have industry professionals who maybe started yesterday to people who've been there 20 plus years. We have training partners, we have instructors for courses like biowork or a bachelor's degree or master's degree. We have job openings, we post success stories all the time. It's a really great way to network with people. And just also stay in touch. Like even if you get the Dish newsletter, this is another great source to look at and network with people because it's on LinkedIn. Upcoming events. So I threw a lot of resources at you. Like I said, we're going to share it. Feel free to take a picture of this if you want. I'll leave it up here for a second. But here's some really cool upcoming opportunities that we have. On September 25th is that Women in Bio STEM panel. So Women in Bio was one of those exchange groups that I was just telling you about. These are different ways that you can get involved and start networking, because this is such a vast space and it can be a lot. And I think it's really cool that you guys are all in here. You're trying to learn more about AI and the job seeking process. So hopefully this will be a really great session for you. With that being said, the next event that we have is September 19th. So this is going to be talking about what does the workforce need to know about AI? This is going to be really relevant for me to be part of as well. I'm excited for the session today, but definitely feel free to tune into this. We have it hybrid, so you can join online or you can come in person if you want, but it will be right here at NCBiotech. All right, let's jump into it. So today's session, I'm going to introduce Lasse Palomaki, who is, oh my goodness, let me move this. He is an experienced career services professional, speaker, and instructional designer with deep experience supporting job seekers across various fields. As the Associate Director of Career Services for Alumni at Elon University and the founder of the Strategic Student LLC, he has coached thousands of students and professionals on practical, modern job search strategies, including how to leverage emerging tools like AI. Lasse has developed workshops at more than 30 institutions, including Cornell, UCLA, and UT Dallas. He holds a certification in instructional design from the Association for Talent Development, ATD, and a certification in design thinking from IDEO, and is passionate about helping North Carolinians navigate the evolving world of work. So let's give a round of applause to Lasse for our session today.
Thanks so much for having me. Give me just a second. I'm gonna pop open my slides. I'm gonna stop sharing this one and we'll pop on something else. So while I'm doing this, if you have a computer today with you and want to follow along, please do that. I'll be demoing a lot of prompts we can utilize on job search with AI, specifically ChatGPT for today's purposes and so on. So if you want to follow along, please do that. But you don't have to. All of these prompts are also available to you afterwards. And I'll pass to either Chase or Susan or Pearl, one of you all guys, and you can share that afterwards to the folks. So just a second, I'm going to pop this open. And Hillary, can you confirm that you can see that? Fantastic. Okay. So what we'll talk about today, like I said, AI for job seekers. Usually I like to walk around a little bit and be more engaged with you all in terms of just not being behind the podium, but given that we're doing a lot of demos today, I'll be standing pretty much behind here. So that's the reason for that. But a couple of caveats as we tackle today's session. So first of all, like I said, we'll be focusing on ChatGPT as the AI tool of choice. The reason for that is that is the most common one, the probably easiest to navigate for you all. There's a lot of other ones out there, but we just don't have the capacity today to do that. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind about AI as a whole. There is no right or wrong way to use it. So as we go through prompts, for example, I'll show you the ones that have been successful for my coaching clients in the past. That does not mean that it's the only way to use, for example, ChatGPT. there's no black and white, there's no perfect prompt, but I'll show you examples and give you some inspiration that we can utilize moving forward. The other thing to know about me, I'm not a biotech life sciences professional. So I'm going to try to pull information from what I found online based on your fields and pull that into information here. But by no means do I have the expertise that you do. So there's going to be some things that you will need to tweak afterwards to really apply to what you're looking for. That said, all of these should apply, broadly speaking, to what we're looking for. Now, the last thing to know, I'm assuming that there's a wide variety of different experience levels with AI in this room. Some of you probably use it every single day for different purposes. Some of you are like myself, who use it on a weekly basis, like let's say 5-6 days out of the week or so, and some of you might have no expertise. That's perfectly fine. I'll try to keep this as simple as possible, and any questions you have, just let me know and we can dive into those as we go through this. And Chase, how do we make sure that my screen is actually on this screen here? I'm sharing on Zoom, but I don't see it on the this screen right here. Yeah. So I want to make sure that we do that. All right, so we closed out that one.
Then Zoom, I'd go and then share screen again.
Let me actually see.
Go here. Yep.
I just want to make sure that we might be in a different window.
So where can you see that?
Yeah, it's still not going through the main screen. So let me pull this to the other window. All right, there we go. Can't see it on that end. Okay. 1 second to finagle this out. Which
Make sure you go into the Zoom and share that screen.
I'm doing that. It's on Zoom, but it's not showing on the actual screen.
So if you go into your screen settings and select, make sure that it's the same screen as this is the one you're sharing on.
Got it.
That's good. Thank you so much.
Right here.
Now you can see the AI for John.
Yeah, I can see that on the screen too, but I can't see it on my end now. So we got it showing for you all, but not for me.
Yeah, it's because it's set up on an extended desktop, so we can change that if you want to.
All right, let's take a second to do that.
Yeah.
Let's try that. Let's see if it pops up in there.
How's that look online, Hillary?
Perfect. Yeah, so let's just pop that up in there. All right, how about now? Fantastic. All right, thank you all for patience. Okay, so now we can dive into the actual content of this. So let me start going through this a little bit here. Like I said, I don't like lectures, so I'll be asking a lot of questions from you as we go through this. We can get a little bit of engagement and hopefully add a little bit more value to you as well, as opposed to just me here speaking on my own. So first question for you all, show of hands. How many of you have used AI today in some capacity? All right, give me examples. What does that look like? Is that ChatGPT? Is that something else? Copilot, okay, maybe Gemini, Claude, things like that. Perplexity, fantastic. There you go. Okay. So lots of those things are obviously everyday use, work, job search, etc. So we can utilize those. But we use AI much more widely than just the job search piece. So anything that you utilize, like Gmail or Outlook, Google Maps, if you use that to get here, right? Spotify, if you have playlists, or Amazon, if you're shopping today. All of this is essentially AI driven. All the reroutes that you see, all the product suggestions. So AI is literally everywhere, okay? But much of this is passive exposure, right? We're not controlling it. It's on the back end, it's getting exposed to us, and we're not really controlling what is happening on that end. It's just feeding up the algorithm that is fed right on the back end. So what we want to do is we want to be more targeted in terms of the use case that we're utilizing it for. And for many of you, that might be job search. Now, I'll show you, like I said, the prompts that have been successful for my clients in the past. That does not mean they're only way to utilize this, but that will give you some inspiration examples as we go through this. So key thing about AI, it's not going to replace the effort. You still have to put in the effort. You still have to put in the hours. But what it allows you to do is going to make those hours a little more effective, more efficient. Okay, so you don't have to do this very kind of high-level general search, for example, but you can be very specific about what am I looking for, how do I tell my applications to these specific areas. So a couple examples just to kick it off that I like to talk about, especially with students and folks who are not that familiar with AI. In the past, if we're, let's say, preparing for an interview, we might type in Google, let's say, clinical research coordinator interview questions. We get a high-level overview of what we can expect. That might be 15, 20 questions that you can expect on any typical clinical interview, okay? But these are, once again, not specific to an individual job posting, because clinical research coordinator in company A is going to ask for different things in company B and company C, okay? High-level themes might be the same, but there's going to be individual responsibilities and tasks that will be different. So for your purposes, you want to utilize ChatGPT to be much more specific, right? For today, once again, what that means is ChatGPT. This prompt I'll show you in detail in just a second. But essentially what we can do, we can copy job postings, obviously, into ChatGPT. We can get output based on the specific details, our resumes, and other context that we input there. And I'm going to walk you through every single step here as we go through this. But the bottom line here is, if Google was beneficial for high-level prep, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, all of these tools are very specific. Individual job postings, our specific context, and our specific output that we look for. Okay? And as we go through this, just keep in mind, once again, I'm giving examples that are high-level examples that are general. You need to be able to be mindful about what is the input that I'm putting in here, as opposed to what is Lasse talking about. Because what I'm talking about might not be relevant to what you need to be doing for yourself. Okay. So like we talked about, it's not about the effort itself. The effort is going to be the same, but job search as a whole is not about putting in more and more hours. It doesn't matter if you put 24 hours a day if you're not effective about the hours that you utilize. Folks who apply for, let's say, 4 to 5 positions a month might be more effective than folks who apply 4 to 5 positions a day. It really depends on how you use those hours, how targeted you are. So keep that in mind. Now, let me ask you all just overall, as you think about job search, you might have gone through recently, you might be currently going through, or you might be anticipating to go through in the next few months. What are the kind of like the main steps along the way in a modern job search? What do you need to be mindful of as you navigate that kind of stage? What all goes into the process? Keywords? Yeah, so understanding job postings, what do they look for? Fantastic. Okay, what else? Perfect. So networking, getting a little bit of exposure, internal advocates for us. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
Job board or something that shows like the breadth of the job, people searching for your.
Perfect. Yeah. So for example, Chase was talking about some of the job boards that are available to you specifically. Great. What else? Yeah. Okay. AT is aligned resume. Good. Perfect. Yeah. What else?
For someone like me trying to career pivot, trying to understand what opportunities may be in a new industry.
Fantastic. Okay, so that is the very first step. Typically, even if you're not looking for a career transition, the first thing is to decide, what am I after? Okay, there's a lot of positions out there. So if we don't know what we're chasing for, we don't know what is our target, you're going to be scattered all over the place. Typically, intuitively, when you think about it, shotgun approach to shooting at everything is going to be more effective. But the reality is, the more targeted you can be, the better your chances are. On average, in corporate America, there's about 250 applicants for any open position right now. That might mean that bigger companies might have 600, 700, smaller companies 15, 20. Doesn't matter, but average is about 250. Okay. In that mix, there's always going to be someone who is taking the time to only target that role at any given time. So that means they're customizing their materials, they're creating those internal advocates, and they're going through that process in a very purposeful manner. If all you are doing is sending cold applications and just hoping for the best, you'll probably land something at some point, but the industry average right now is 6 to 9 months. Okay. If you want to cut that down, you have to be a lot more purposeful. And that means typically less applications and more effort, more time on an individual application. Once again, ChatGPT, for example, is not going to replace those hours or that effort, but it's going to make you much more purposeful about how you utilize them. Okay. So some of the things you mentioned, some of the things we can add on here, just high level, clarifying direction. What am I after? Number one step. If you have no idea what you're after, it's going to be really difficult to be purposeful with those hours. Second, building the materials. So we have your resume, we have your cover letter if that is required, LinkedIn profile, et cetera, maybe portfolios, et cetera, that might be relevant to you. Expanding your network, so internal advocates, alumni from institutions working in those specific companies, et cetera. Prepping for interviews, negotiating offers, and also, once you have that job, how do we start off on the right foot? What do the first 30 or 60 or 90 days look like as we get in that new position? Okay, this is not a comprehensive list. There's going to be additional smaller steps in between, but high level, this is what you're looking at. And that's what we'll be diving into today. Okay. So AI can support every step of these, every step along the way here. And like I said, for today's purposes, AI for us means ChatGPT. That's what I'll be focusing on. There's plenty of other tools out there. There's interview-specific tools. One of them is called Yoodli, YOODLI, for example. So that gives you AI interview prep. So if you want to utilize something like that, go for it. That's great. But ChatGPT, once again, gives us the foundation for today. There's other ones like Perplexity. Perplexity is a little bit more research-specific, real-time specific, as opposed to ChatGPT. So once again, pick and choose whatever is best for you. You can use Google or ChatGPT to identify what the best tool might be for you. But once again, today, ChatGPT is the name of the game. Okay. So if you have your computer, iPad, phone, whatever that is, if you type that in, that bit.ly URL, you'll get to a prompt library that I've created for you. And like I said, this is the one that I'll be sharing with Chase, Pearl, et cetera, Susan afterwards. You also have access that way. But this will give you an idea what we'll be going through today. Now, I ask you that you don't get awfully distracted by the steps ahead of where we are in the process itself, because if you do that, you'll probably not hear what I'm talking about here. So pop it open, copy them as you want, use them as we go through this, but don't get too far ahead so I can explain to you why we're using them the way we are. Okay, I'm going to give you about 10 seconds here if anyone's still pulling it up, and we're going to continue after that.
Do you have to know what the Wi-Fi password is or what the screen share?
I think it's NC capital N, capital C, capital L, and then life, and then capital sciences, NC Life Sciences. Hillary, does that sound correct? Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome. So pop that open if you want, follow along. But like I said, don't get too far ahead so we can actually go through these together. And let me just check the chat here while we're going through this. Okay, we got some questions. The prompts, correct. Yeah, I'm going to walk you through every step along the way to show you exactly what it looks like. If you have never used ChatGPT, it is completely free to use. So all you need to do is just navigate to chatgpt.com, I think. You can find it on Google as well. Now, you don't have to sign up, but the benefit of signing in is that it's going to remember who you are. It's going to also be able to provide a history of your chats in the past. So if you ever need to go back to something, if you need context from something done in the past, it's going to be listed there. If you don't sign in, no problem, you can still use it, but there's no context and history behind that. One thing I will say though, I'm going to go to ChatGPT for you all here really quick. If you do utilize a specific account like you create and sign in, what I would do is go here, I would go to settings, and let me see, I think data controls. Right here, it says improve model for everyone. I'll always turn that off because that means that it's not going to save your chats and use it to train their models in the back end. So if you don't care about your data, keep it on. If you do care about data and privacy, I would recommend turning that off just in case. And once again, that is only if you're using an account as opposed to just a free public version. Okay, so let's see what this looks like in practice. But before I do that, let me just pause here for a second. Any thoughts, questions, concerns so far about what we've covered? Just kind of what to expect in the next 30, 45 minutes.
I think so.
Okay, let me go back here. Can they see this on their end? They should be able to just type that in. Give them about 20 seconds. So any questions, concerns before we dive in? Okay. I'll keep this open for just a second so they can get there. And Hillary, you can also type it in the chat for them that they can access this afterwards as needed. Okay. So demo one, we'll talk about just the first step, like I said, what are we after? How do we clarify the direction that we're after? Question for you before I show the prompt on mine. Obviously, many of you probably saw it already, but how would you utilize? What kind of prompts do you have available to you? What kind of use cases do you have when you clarify direction on ChatGPT? Like what can you say to ChatGPT to help you define what am I after? What do you say in that ChatGPT field? There you go. Okay. Is anyone able to access? You all able to access it? Okay, so there's some kind of error. I'm sorry that is happening. I don't know exactly why. Oh, yeah, correct. Awesome. Okay, so let me walk you through this just as a first example of what it looked like in practice. ChatGPT is a fantastic tool for brainstorming. Perplexity, for example, is better for research. So if you're looking for like real-time information on a company or an industry or something, I would use Perplexity. Just type in perplexity.ai, I think, on URL. But ChatGPT is fantastic for brainstorming. So a little bit more creative of a model. So that's what I like to utilize for this use case. But let's go to the very first prompt here. And you'll notice that each one of these prompts or pages has multiple prompts. We'll just use the first one as the main most of these. So you'll see what it looks like in practice. But I'm going to pop this here. I'm going to copy this full prompt here. We're going to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to pop that in here. And what I'm going to do for our purposes, you'll notice there's a lot of brackets for y'all as you start using this for your own use cases. I'm going to go ahead here. I've created an example resume that is not relevant to you all, but I'm going to use this for our purposes. Now, given that this is just a mock resume that I created using ChatGPT, There's everything here in terms of name and email and so on. When you're utilizing your own resumes, if you want to use it for this case, I would not include your phone numbers, emails, names, addresses, etc. Just leave that out. It's not relevant. It does not need to know that. But for our purpose, we're going to add that in here. So what we're first of all essentially doing here, we're asking ChatGPT to be a career exploration coach and help us identify career paths. Now, many folks, when they utilize ChatGPT, they literally say, hey, I'm doing X, I'm looking for Y. Can you give me some ideas on what I can go after, job titles and so on. We want to be as specific as we can and provide as much context as we can. The more context you provide, the more you define the output that you're after, the more helpful it will be for you. So what we're doing, for example, here are talking about things like, I enjoy doing X, Y, and Z. I don't enjoy doing A, B, and C. My strongest skills, my tasks that drain me at work, etc. What motivates me, ideal work environment, professional values, etc. You can pick and choose if you want to eliminate some of these. That is perfectly fine, but these are just placeholder items you can think about as you navigate this prompt. After that, we're going to attach our resume right here. It's copied with our professional summary, professional experiences. We have education, skills, certifications, publications, etc. Second, we're going to look for those career options. Now, once again, we're not just looking for the roles. We're not asking to get 10 different titles to go after. What we're looking for are things like description, typical responsibilities, challenges, alternative job titles, because company X might call clinical research coordinator this, and someone else might call it that. Okay, so you want those alternative names you want what to look for in a job board. Skills required, maybe you have it, maybe you don't. Typical education, same thing. We also want to look for 15-year career trajectory because you don't want to just have a job, you're looking for a career. Like you don't want to be job searching in 6 months. So look for what does that 15 kind of year path look like ahead if you want to commit to this career. Long-term outlook, growth, automation, risk, industry trends. This is essentially the occupational outlook. If I'm going in the field that's going to be replaced by AI in the next 5 years, I'm probably going to be out of job again, right? So what do I need to be mindful of as I navigate this? And then finally, why this path matches my skills. And third, summarize the next steps. Okay, so let me pop this open and let's see what comes through as we go through here. And Hillary, just let me know if there's questions that we need to address as we go through this. Okay, so based on resume, based on notes, you enjoy doing X, Y, and Z, you're good at blah, blah, blah. Second, career path options. So right here, this gets beneficial for you specifically. So you know the context you put in, and here's the ideas that we get from here. We have 5 roles: medical science liaison, we have a clinical project manager, and it's generating here, so let's talk about these 2 first. But essentially, once again, it's providing exactly what we were hoping for. Descriptions, alternative titles, skills required, education training, career trajectory with approximate pay ranges, outlook for the field, low automation risk, for example, and then fit for you, XYZ. Okay. So now based on this, you can say like, that's not what I'm looking for. That's perfectly okay. Don't take this like a single truth, take it with a grain of salt. So your job is to go through and say, this is qualified for me. Like I'm interested, I'm going to go a little bit further, or I'm disqualifying this. It does not sound like something I want to do. But once again, this is not the last step in the process. This is the first step. So once AI is helping identify these roles, the next step you want to do is go to the job boards and actually find some of these positions. See the actual responsibilities. Actually, once again, ask yourself, is this something I see myself doing? If yes, let's pursue further. If not, let's just eliminate that. If you decide like, hey, AI tells me it's a good fit, I see the jobs, they actually feel pretty interesting to me. The third step ideally is you talk to people who are doing that kind of work. So have informational interviews with those people and actually confirm that the job description postings are not just this romanticized view that is created by recruiters because they want to attract people to their jobs. Okay, so talk to people, ask them one-on-one questions, get a better understanding. If all those check out, then we start actually crafting materials, interviewing, etc. Okay, but like I said, 5 jobs here for us, all over the place. I don't know much about these, obviously, given that I'm not an expert, but for you, you can decide if this is a good fit for you or not. Now, if I'm going to run this exact same prompt again in 2 seconds, it might give me different responses. Okay, so keep that in mind. So you can do this a few times. You can iterate it, saying like, hey, I found options 2 and 3 really helpful, but 1, 4, and 5 are not what I'm looking for. It's going to give you a new list based on that information. So keep iterating, keep that conversation ongoing. Okay, let me pause here for a second. Thoughts, questions, concerns about it. Just how do we run this prompt? Why did we create it the way we did? Anything in between? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. It's nothing awfully complicated. Just want to check and make sure. Okay, so that's example number 1. Like I said, keep iterating, ask questions, provide information if needed, and so on. Yeah.
Output that you're going to get from the whiteboard.
The output that you get from this is kind of like suggestions of roles to look into. So I'm trying to understand. So what you're saying is like maybe use LinkedIn to find someone that matches that role, set up like a informal interview with them before you like just start like applying for jobs on job boards and things like
Right.
that.
So
Okay.
what I would do, let's imagine for the sake of our example, that the very first one we found, let's go here. Let's use the second one. I think this might be a more common title. Clinical PM, okay? I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go to LinkedIn. I'm gonna go up here. And as you look for jobs, this is outside of the scope of AI, but if you use LinkedIn to use jobs, always use quotation marks, okay? If you don't do that, I was gonna look for is just these three terms somewhere in the job posting. It's not that exact title. So if you want an exact title, use the quotation marks. You can also say, or you can do a Boolean search and say clinical research coordinator, so we can expand the scope. Let's say two of those positions that you see in the listing are relevant, put both of them in there with a Boolean search, okay? Return, we're gonna go to jobs, and now you find these jobs here. So you'll notice we have CRCs, and we probably have a couple of PM positions in the mix as well, maybe not, but we'll see. Yeah, this is a clinical PM, okay. So your job now is to go through some of these postings, not just an individual one, but multiple ones, and spot the patterns. Does this look like something that I want to do? Go through step by step by step, and is this something I'm qualified to do? If the answer for either of these is no, I'm not qualified and this does not interest me, don't waste any more time. But if you feel like, hey, it sounds really appealing, I've done most of these things, not 100%, but let's say 70% of these things, go for it, okay? The next step then would be to go do the same exact search up here. So I'm gonna copy this over. I'm gonna do the same search. I'm gonna go to people. I'm gonna go to all filters. Let's imagine you went to Elon, since that's where I'm currently at. I'm gonna add Elon here. And let's see if we have any clinical PMs or research coordinators from Elon. So now I have all these alumni from my institution. I didn't go to Elon, but let's say I did. I filtered by Elon. Maybe you have a master's degree, you have 2 institutions you can look for. These are the lowest hanging fruit for you because alumni like to help folks from their institution. So look for these people, go to their profiles. There's informational interview tips online. You can use ChatGPT for that as well and talk to them and ask them questions like, what does this really look like in practice? What are the daily challenges you have? Kind of like we do with ChatGPT, because a lot of that insider information is gonna not contradict, but be a little bit different than what you see in a job posting. And then you can once again qualify, like, do I really see myself doing that? Do they enjoy the job? Do they not enjoy the job? And you can learn about the company as well. Okay. Does that answer your question? Fantastic.
So it's all done before you actually like physically like polish your resume and apply for it.
This is what I would do. Yes, absolutely. Because if you start applying for positions that you don't know if you really like, you just go ChatGPT, there's 5 positions, let me just start applying to each of those. You might get lucky, find something you like, or you might end up in a position that is not a good fit. And then 6 months down the line, you'll be doing the same process again. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first bit here. Let me go back here now. I'm gonna break it down for you really quick in terms of just what we did, why we did, etc. So look at this prompt here really quick. I think you should be able to see it. I'm gonna move this screen. So just go through really quick. What kind of components do you see from here? Like, what are we telling ChatGPT? What are the individual details we're providing, asking information from, et cetera? What are kind of like these individual things you find here? What are we providing?
Bio, essentially.
Fantastic. So context, absolutely. Bio, resume, et cetera. What else? How are we prompting it specifically? Perfect. Yep. More context. Good. What else?
And then also the role it's playing.
Perfect. So persona, we're assigning a persona, okay? You'll see this down the line in interview prep, for example, but what we could do is, let's say I'm applying for, or I'm interviewing for position X, act as a seasoned hiring manager for positions X, Y, and Z, okay? So now what ChatGPT will do is gonna assume, okay, I'm gonna pull all that information that I would have on the back of my mind as an experienced recruiter or hiring manager for a specific position, and the questions will be more specific once again. So persona, okay? We have context and we have persona. What else do you see here? What does the flow look like? Exactly. So don't ask ChatGPT to do everything at once. It can do it and it will do it, and it was going to give you an output, but do the logical flow. X is the first step for you. Y is the second step for you. Z is the third step for you. So now it's going to do that logical flow. It's going to first analyze our information. Then it's going to generate options. And the third thing we ask for is set action plan. It's going to provide that as the third thing. If you jumble everything together, like sentence X here, A here, B here, it's going to almost can do it, but it's not going to be as logical. It's not going to be as effective as an output. Okay, so let me move this again. So persona, you can decide what that is. Typically, the context should be somehow related to the ask you have. We have logical step flow. So we have first read my background, second generate career options. Then we have context, we have bullet points, and we have a resume. And third, we have also defined an output. We're not just providing the context and saying, here's my resume, figure out what to do with it. We're saying this is what we need from you. If I don't specify here that I want those alternative job titles, it's not going to give it to me. So if you know that I need this information for my job search, tell ChatGPT that, okay? Additionally, if you want, you can always add in the prompt, ask me additional questions if you need more context. So now I'm gonna come back to you and say, hey, let's say, or whoever that might be, I need to know more about your expertise in something, whatever that might be, in order to find if this is a good fit for you. Okay, so you can always add that in the mix as well. Okay. Any questions, concerns about just this kind of structure of the prompt?
If you kind of start having a conversation, do you find that you need to keep reaffirming what that persona is, or is it kind of set for a while?
It should be set unless you confuse it by saying something different in the mix. That said, if it's a long conversation, it doesn't hurt to remind it. Yeah.
Questions, how do you keep things from like previous conversations or other things you did from bleeding over into this persona?
Yeah,
Or
so
picking up on like things from like days ago or something like that, if you use it a lot.
yeah, so ChatGPT is pretty good overall about kind of siloing the conversation, unless you provide a context. So what you can do here, I'm going to go to my profile or my ChatGPT here. You'll notice in the left bottom hand side, you can customize ChatGPT, for example. And what it will ask from you here is, what should they call you? What do you do? You can add your information here. What personality should it have, et cetera? What traits should ChatGPT have? So for me, for example, tell it like it is, don't sugarcoat responses. Like I don't need it to be fluffy and kind, I need to be objective, and that's what I tell it. Same thing for you to decide what kind of output do I look for. We also have anything about ChatGPT you should know about you, et cetera. It's enabling for that every new chat that you are creating. But like I said, ChatGPT is pretty good at siloing, with the caveat that it can bleed into different conversations if you don't separate these projects. So if you use ChatGPT through a project, I would create project folders on the left-hand side here. Now, I have an LLC, so I use it for multiple purposes. I have my family one, like my cholesterol was high a few weeks ago. So I put all my levels in ChatGPT. I said, what do I need to fix in my diet? It helps me with that. But that's not going to obviously impact my LLC work, right? So create new projects right here. Like the one I'm currently at with this one is workshop demos. It's not going to pull this information to anything else. Okay. Does that help? Okay.
I think same thing what you use, like what was the prompt you gave to ChatGPT so that they don't kind of merge all the information together? Could you show it one more time?
The prompt itself? Yeah, so the prompt itself, this will be available in the document that I've shared, and Chase and Pearl will share with you afterwards. But all of them are copied here, and you'll notice it's the exact one that we just covered in terms of assigning a persona, logical step flow, we have the context, et cetera. Yeah.
This may be a bit too inception, but can you use for your customized ChatGPT thing? Can you use ChatGPT to basically ask it, how do I best tell you to have this characteristic in your link?
Yes, I do that all the time. Yeah, I have a separate folder that is for prompt engineering. So I say like, hey, I'm looking for you to provide me information about X. What do I need to keep in mind? All of these prompts are created by ChatGPT. So I just take what I need and I tweaked it myself. I didn't just take it as it is, but the foundation for each of these ones is created by ChatGPT. Yeah.
This one's a little specific. So when you create a project, there's a specific part in there where you can assign it specific instructions. Do you find more success when like individually prompting something or giving it a set of instructions for project?
If I know the project is going to be the same ballpark, like I have a project for anything legal, I have a project for anything that is like on LinkedIn, I have an audience, I have influence partnerships. So I have a specific set of instructions, like these are legal things I need to keep in mind as you provide me instructions and output. So it's going to keep those in mind. And given that you use it and you knew that, you can probably know there's also the files. So if you have files that you need to analyze, pop them in there as well as context. Yeah, yeah. That said, if the project folder is all over the place, I wouldn't give that standardized set of instructions. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, you may have covered this, maybe I missed it. So when you have different projects, can you assign specific personas for each project?
Yep. So what our friend in the back was saying essentially is that once we have a folder, so I'm going to go to the workshop demos that I have here, right here, underneath the actual prompt, we have add files. So if I had a file, for example, like, hey, here's an example of a past workshop that I've done, I'm going to pop it in here as a PDF or whatever that is, it's going to keep that in mind. Or set of instructions right here, respond in Spanish, reference the latest, blah, 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 etc. So here's the second piece. You can utilize both.
high of setting it up in the settings when you initially.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I was wondering if there's a setting in there that would curtail to each project.
Yeah, so the one that you set up in the actual profile settings here, that's going to be that high overarching, like, who am I talking to kind of thing. And then these are, if you leave these blank, it's not going to pull anything except what I provided in the settings itself. But for example, let me go here. You'll notice here, I have some, dedicated brand influencer partnerships, blah, blah, blah. And I can provide the context here if I want to. So I'm going to go back to our workshop demos. Okay. What else comes to mind so far? All right, I'm going to keep on going. Same idea applies to every single prompt that you put in. Keep these in mind: persona, logical steps, context, and output that you look for. And if you want to add that extra piece of ask me questions if you need more information, that might be helpful. It doesn't always utilize it, but sometimes it might. Okay. Second one, building materials. Oftentimes, folks utilize this for resumes, cover letters. I think it's a good use case, but I don't see a lot of folks utilizing the prompts well. So it's going to be typically like, here's my resume. Can you customize it for a clinical research coordinator position with no context of what the position actually is like? So what we want to do instead, once again, be very specific about how we craft it. So the one that we're using for this one is the very first one here. Once again, you'll notice right here, we're an expert recruiter and a resume coach, right? As opposed to just a resume coach. Help me tailor my resume, analyze the JD, job description here, analyze my resume, etc. So let's see what pops open here. I'm going to walk you through exactly what we're doing here. I'm going to put in the same conversation, and I'm going to go back here for us. I'm going to do the resume. And I'm going to also do the actual job posting. So this one, just one I found from LinkedIn. Copy the whole job posting. And I want to pop it in here. Okay. So to give you context while it's thinking what we're looking for here, like I said, a lot of folks utilize it for resume purposes, but the prompts themselves are not very good. So what we're looking for here right now is, first of all, analyze the JD, look for the top 7 to 10 skills. This is nothing that you couldn't do on your own, just looking through with your own eyes. It's nothing complex, but we're looking for repeated themes a strong candidate must demonstrate. We're adding the JD here, word for word. Analyze my resume, main skills, experiences, identify which parts of my resume are most relevant to the JD, pop it right here. And then this is a key piece here, gap analysis, okay? It's gonna tell you, hey, you have skills in X, Y, and Z, but you're missing A, B, and C. So if you have that gap, like you have nothing about this in your resume, you need to go back and ask yourself, have I done that? If I've done that, but it's not in my resume, obviously I need to add it in there. If I've never done that, is that okay still to apply? Is it a critical skill, or do I need to go back to the drawing board and try to build that skill before I apply? Then we have solutions for the gaps. Can I reframe something we've done in the past to better show fit? If a skill is missing, can I find transferable skills in my resume? Rewriting my bullet points so they align, and providing a professional summary if I want to add it at the top of my document. So let's go here, see what comes up. We have the actual JD. Once again, nothing that you couldn't do on your own, but it's still helpful just to fact check. Repeated themes, resume analysis. Okay, we have strong X, we have clinical Y. We have relevant parts of the JD. So your role in X, Y, and Z was the most relevant. Gap analysis, we've done a good job covering these, but we have not done a good job doing clinical procedures or coverage and planning and scheduling huddles, et cetera. What is completely missing? And then solutions for the gaps. What can we do to address those gaps? Okay. This is helpful, once again, not because you couldn't do this on your own, but it's going to just make sure you're fact checking and giving this a little bit more efficiently. So when we talk about saving time, you can do all of this spending 30 minutes on job posting, or you can just pop them in here and do it in 2 minutes. So efficiency is the name of the game here. Rewriting bullet points is going to give you also rewritten bullets. Sometimes these are excellent, sometimes they're not. You can tell ChatGPT you can make assumptions, or you can tell them do not make any assumptions, only use context from my resume. Now, something that is really important for you to know, if your resume is, extremely vague, there's not enough context, ChatGPT doesn't know what you've done. So it's better to provide a resume that literally you just spitballing anything that comes to mind, and it's not formatted, it's not polished, because at least it gets the context. It doesn't have to be pretty, rather than having this polished resume where there's not enough context. So dump everything in the resume that you're submitting here it can sort it out for itself, and then it's going to turn out a more polished document for you. Okay. Now, don't take these as it is. It's going to make assumptions, it's going to make mistakes, it's going to say things that are not true, not accurate, not relevant. So go through them one more time, but at least you get some ideas and foundation for the bullet points. Let's see what else we have. We have this professional summary here. Perfect. Okay. Pausing here once again. Questions, concerns, thoughts about the resume piece?
Do you notice a difference with uploading a file versus just copying it? Do you notice a difference with uploading a file, like in that plus sign down there, versus just literally pasting it in?
If it's short file or document, I always copy paste it directly. Sometimes I've noticed that either whether it's PDF or docs or anything like that, it does not read it correctly and it makes assumptions. And what I've also noticed lately with the new model is that sometimes it tells me like, this is a direct quote from a document you submitted. And I'm like, it's not. And it's going to tell me like, I'm sorry, I lied. I'm like, okay, that's not very effective. So I would definitely copy if you can. If it's a 60-page PDF, pop it in there and hope for the best. Yeah.
So it seems like it's hotly debated on LinkedIn right now
Mhm.
on using ChatGPT or AI to adapt your bullets and the language. And so I have started playing with AI detectors. And I was wondering if you have any thoughts or insights on how industry is viewing and reviewing and viewing resumes that have been adapted. So for example, if you have your bullets adapted using ChatGPT, do you need to significantly change them so they do not appear to be ChatGPT generated? Just
Yeah, that's a good question, and it is a big topic right now. I'm not a recruiter. This is my perspective based on what I've talked to recruiters. Many of them don't care. If you have the experience, it doesn't really matter. The document is just that kind of facilitator of, let's say has done X, and it's now in an easily understandable format for the recruiter. If that makes their life more easy in terms of seeing your qualifications, you get the interview, etc., that's great. I don't see the downside. At the end of the day, resume is not going to land you a job. It's going to land you an interview. And in that interview, you still have to prove yourself. You have to talk. You have to not use AI to do that. So I don't see the downside. The only caveat that I would keep in mind here is that if it gives you bullet points here that are awfully AI, like embellished X or like fostered, like all these fancy terms, maybe you make a little bit kind of more simple terms. But you can tell ChatGPT, like, I don't like these. These are too high level, too jargony. Make them a little bit more everyday language, and it's going to do that for you. So in my eyes, it's not a harmful thing because at the end of the day, if you have the experience that are truthful in the document, it doesn't really move the needle because you still have to interview. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
The comments are kind of been doing the same thing, but I always ask ChatGPT to quantify the job description with my current resume.
Yeah.
On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being optimal.
Mhm.
And I found that to be helpful in terms of should I apply, because if I'm 80% or greater.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I can have it refined so that it's more of a 90, 9.8 overlap.
Yeah.
And that seems to help. I track and measure that, and I kind of get more hits with that.
Yeah.
And then I can just track and measure, I can waste my time with anything less than 80%.
I completely echo that and support that. I think it's a good idea. So the benchmark that I typically have is 70%. If you feel like you're 70% qualified, go for it. But to your point, if you're 50, 40, chances are there's somebody who's much better qualified. I don't know if it's worth your time. Yeah, I agree with you. And that goes back to the defined output. It's just what you're looking for from the prompt. Yeah. What else? Got a couple more prompts here. I think we have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to pick and choose. Let's do this. So we have expanding your network, preparing for interviews, negotiating offers. I would argue that the interview prep might be the most beneficial for you. So why don't we, is that okay if we tackle that one next, given that we only have a few minutes left? Okay. So I'm going to go here. The next prompt we're going to use is mapping potential interview questions. So there's never a way for you to know the exact questions that you'll be asked, but this is a better approach than going to Google and saying, I'm applying for PM positions, give me 15 general questions, because chances are they're not going to be the ones asked. This will pull from the JD itself. So let's do this one for you all as an example. Do this. And like I said, all of this is available to you afterwards as well, so you can just scroll down as you need to. But we're going to go here, I'm going to pop that in here. Okay, I'm going to put the JD. And then we're going to add a resume at the bottom. So while I was thinking what we're looking for here, we're looking for it to be an interview prep coach. If you want to have the context here and an experienced recruiter in field X, you can do that because it's a little bit more specific in terms of context. We have the JD, we're copying it once again word for word. Then we have identify focus areas, top 5 to 7 competencies, etc., that they look for in the job description. Generate questions, 8 to 10 likely interview questions. Keep in mind, these will not be the exact questions, of course, but hopefully we can at least hit the main themes. Then we have prioritize 3 to 4 that are likely to be asked, identify high-level themes, explain how preparing one strong story should help answer multiple questions, and then prepping for guidance. So that's what we're looking for here, and let's see what it gives us an output. So review of JD, focus areas, likely interview questions. So let's go here. Regular compliance, tell me about a time you ensured a study remain compliant with FDA, blah, blah, blah. What steps did you take? What was the outcome? Now, this, like I said, will not likely be the exact question, but what it will give you an idea is that, okay, I probably need to have an example of a time when I did something with compliance with FDA. It might not be this question, it might be something aligned with this, but if you have a story that responds to this question, chances are you can easily adapt that to the other question as well, okay? And something outside the scope of AI, once again, but as you go to interviews and you have behavioral questions, like tell me about a time when you did X, Y, and Z, what I would always recommend to do with the recruiter or interview, I would say, it's a fantastic question. Do you mind if I take a second to think about the most relevant example? They don't always say, yeah, go for it, absolutely. Take 10 seconds, think about which one you want to provide, go back to your notes if you have notes, and then deliver, okay? A lot of times what we do is we try to rush to fill that gap of time or that tiny little silence that's going to be lingering in the air. And we're going to provide an example that might be decent, but it might not be the best one we have. So when they ask that question, ask them for a moment of time to provide the best response and then deliver. Okay, patient interaction, data accuracy, etc. We have prioritization, most likely question is Q1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like it's in order. High-level themes, prep for guidance. So, regular experience. Based on our resume, we have the CCRP certification, GCP training, etc. Talk about those. And then next step, create those star stories. Now, there is a separate prompt. It actually is not star, it's Carl, same idea. But you can prep based on the JD, based on your resume. It's going to give you ideas on how do you respond to these questions. Okay. We've got about 6-7 minutes left here. Yes. No, there's no way to know.
So never asked, but you prepared for it, like there's no other way, how do you balance?
You cannot know. So the recruiter will make the decision, or the interview hiring manager will make a decision, what am I going to ask? What this gives you an idea as to high-level themes you need to be prepared to discuss. So if we have, once again, regular compliance, that was one of the key things, or data accuracy here. I don't know exactly what the question will be, but ChatGPT was telling us, like based on the job description that we see, these are the key areas that you need to be prepared to talk about. So now you go back and think about them. This is just a mock interview for you. And the other tool that I mentioned earlier, I think it's called Udly. Right here, AI role plays. So if you want to, you can now go here, Udly, create an account, and then say, hey, here's the question I'm going to prep for, and help me do this. It's going to take the video that it's going to give you like this avatar, AI avatar, not a real person. It's going to ask the question. You can video yourself respond to the question. It's going to give you feedback on your response, your filler words, your pacing, all of those things. And now you have kind of like a dual approach, ChatGPT and Udly, to tackle that. But in short, to answer your question, there's no way for us to know what they will actually ask.
With everyone using AI in some way, shape, or form, most everybody, I'll use it. Hi, okay. So with everybody out there mostly using AI to develop their CVs and resumes, right? How do you stand out leveraging AI, using AI to stand out and differentiate yourself from others?
Better prompting.
Better prompting?
That's what it is. Most people who use AI for job search, they say, customize my resume. They provide a resume, nothing else. And now they say, I'm applying for, let's say, to be a project manager. Here's my resume. Please customize it. There's no context on the job. There's no context on what you're looking for. There's nothing. Okay. So the output that you get from ChatGPT, what we got is pretty good overall, I would argue. What you get with a very general prompt is very high level, very general. It's not going to be optimized for a job posting. It's just going to miss keywords. It's going to miss high level themes. It's going to miss the prioritization of what is most important. So prompting is the most important piece. At the end of the day, it's not the format of your resume that's going to get you an interview. It's the context that you have in there. So keep in mind, this is just a tool. It's not a magic wand. It's going to help you be more customized, tailored, etc. But you still have to put in the work to identify, is this really accurate, truthful, and does it align?
So it's not about soft skill sets anymore. It's about being the better prompter.
You can look at it that way if you want to, but at the end of the day, like I said, this can land you an interview. In the interview, they'll ask you questions that are relevant. If you have an example of X, Y, and Z. If you've created the perfect resume, the best resume, but you can't respond to an interview question, you're not going to get the job. So it helps. It's a helpful tool. It's going to be more targeted, etc., but it will not land the job for you.
My question is, there's the free version of ChatGPT and the paid one. Are there trade-offs in terms of the advantages that the paid version may have for this type of application versus unpaid, or is it sort of, dealer's choice?
The free one is probably good enough. I use the paid one, and I've noticed the difference. It is better. There's no question about that. I've just never used it for this purpose. I haven't run the same prompts with the free versus the paid, so I don't have a good answer for that. But I can say that the paid version is better, high level. Just don't know if this is the use case for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it worth running same prompt and same context twice that you tend to get slightly different?
You can. Yeah, you get a little bit of different response, and you can also do, like I said, you can use Perplexity for some of these. You'll get a different response in ChatGPT. You can use Claude, you can use Gemini. There's different versions out there. So poke around a little bit, take the time to get familiar with one or two of them, see which one is the best fit for you. But at the end of the day, like I said, this is just a foundation. This is going to give you ideas, but you still have to put in the work to tweak it and adjust it based on your use case. But as a question, it's a valid question, and I would probably poke around with a few different models. Yeah. What else? Okay. Yeah.
Recent good success with having ChatGPT help me or just assess my response to what's your strength, what's your weakness question, because those always come up. It's phenomenal. And I used it, and I was like, wow, this is really great. So I found it to be helpful if you reply to that on chat. Like my biggest strength is it just refines it and ties in elements from your resume and you back that up. And that was like a wow factor. Same with the weakness bit.
I like that a lot. And to your point about iterating, giving more context as you go through, once you get the first response, I'm sure you're doing this, that's not really accurate or truthful. I don't really like the way you frame that. Focus more on X, and it's going to give you that revised version. So I like that a lot. Yeah. Now, the second prompt, we're not going to do this because we don't have the time for this. But the framework that I use for responding to interview questions is CARL, context, action, result, and lesson. If you provide this output one, or input once again, define output, etc. Now you're going to tell them, like, I also want a response to what was, weaknesses, strengths, etc. question based on the JD and my resume. Where do I have the gaps? Where do I have the strengths? How does that align with what I'm looking for here? Okay. Let me just finish this out really quick here to make sure I'm not missing anything. We can come back to that in a second. I'll leave a couple of minutes here in a second. Okay, a couple more slides. So just a sample, like I said, not a full list of what AI can do for you. And like I said, I'm not acting that these are the perfect prompts. These are just the ones that I've found to be effective overall for the clients that I work with. If you find that there's a way to do better prompts or add a context, something, go for it, right? Don't just utilize these, just inspiration examples. But questions, takeaways, I'd be open to both. So go ahead, just go.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask another question about, because I noticed it sounds like the more context you add to the AI program, the better output you get. But my question is, how do you personally balance adding context versus maintaining privacy with these AI programs?
It's a trade-off. I'm not a backend expert. I don't know how the models work. But there's those small ways you can do, like don't use my data for training. If you feel comfortable putting like your preferences, strengths, skills, interests, things like that, I think it's fair. Those are not like big identifiers, but of course don't put any like, social security numbers or anything like that. So yeah. Okay. All right. So let's pause here. I think we have a minute or 2 minutes left. Any questions? Anything we can dive deeper into? Anything that we did not cover that you want to talk about, or any key takeaways like, oh snap, like that's helpful? Yeah.
A quick question. So this is on the side of the interviewee and doing this work, but on the flip side, with the actual recruiters that you talk to and that are in the industry, I'm curious, I know that the larger tools that are out there, Ladders, Execunet,
Sure.
pick them all, LinkedIn, are using AI, they're involved there. But if somebody's applying directly to a career page, to an employer,
Mhm.
what's the likelihood they're actually have already bought into and using AI that's screening the resume that you need this type of match to occur because you're trying to make that weave together?
Yeah.
So I'm really curious how much employers are really using AI versus the big tools.
Yeah, good question. So here's the little bit of context. This is outside the scope of what we talk about today. But when you think about a resume, your job is to use things like this to make sure you're talking about the right things, but the formatting plays a big piece in that too. So for example, what are the items you prioritize? If you create a professional summary, what are you prioritizing in there? When you have bullet points within an experience section, a lot of times people have like 15 bullet points, and the most important ones are number 13 and 14. Okay. If I'm a recruiter and I'm taking a first glance, I'm going to look at the first 3 or 4, right? So there's a lot of formatting things. There's a lot of things that are completely outside the scope of what we talk about, outside the scope of AI, simply just psychology. Where do we first read? Where does our attention go? Where do our eyeballs go, et cetera? So that's what I would pay attention more to. Now, a lot of folks are concerned that if my resume doesn't have a keyword, it's going to be rejected by the ATS. Based on all the ATS systems that I've ever seen and the recruiters that I've talked to, the ATS does not reject them. What it will do, though, is like a filing cabinet. If we have 100 applicants sending resumes, what I can do as a recruiter, I can put in a keyword search like clinical research or project management or certification. If your document does not have those, it's not going to pop up in search. If it does, it will pop up. Now, like I said, I'm not a recruiter, so take it with a grain of salt, but I've never seen an ATS system that actually will reject a resume just based on keywords. They use it for filtering, screening, identifying keywords, but not a rejecting. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Awesome.
What are some of the best AI online tools to use to match with ATS, such as JobScan?
I don't trust JobScan. No, I use ChatGPT. You can provide the prompt. I don't know what is happening on the back end with JobScan, but the resumes that we've used for my clients with JobScan, they're not going to be as effective as if we put in the effort with something like ChatGPT. These prompts that I'm providing for you, you can literally copy paste them. You just copy the different job description. I would argue it's going to be just as, if not more effective. But you can also give it a try to JobScan. Send 5 applications with a JobScan resume, 5 with these, and see what happens. Yeah, I just don't personally use it. Yeah. Anything else? Do we
We have 2 online questions. So the first one is a participant wanting to know more about your position at Elon.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the Associate Director of Career Services for Alumni at Elon. It's a new role at Elon for about 1.5 years that I've been serving that role right now. So we provide one-on-one coaching for alumni at every industry out there. So a lot of our folks are in financial services, consulting, education, project management, et cetera. So I work one-on-one with them, and I also provide workshops on various career services topics, networking, LinkedIn, resumes, anything in between, AI, for our regional chapters that we have about 35,000 alumni across the nation.
Right. And then another question is there a way to use the AI to bypass a model that rejects international student resumes? I think just this question asker has gotten a lot of automatic rejections because they have that on their resume.
So what I do know about ATS is applicant tracking systems is there are what they call knockoff questions. So essentially yes or no, like, do you require sponsorship? If you say yes, maybe they can set it to automatically reject that. But there's really not much you can do about that besides either saying that you don't require it or leaving it out. So I don't want to say any definitive answer for that. It's just a difficult market for international people right now. Yeah. Okay.
For context, the context that you put into your prompts, would you recommend saying like, this job posting is at this company?
Yes. Yeah, you can definitely do that. And what you'll notice also, one of the prompts that I have added here, we can do, let me see if it's here, right here, actually. So you can research companies and roles as well. And I use Perplexity for this purpose specifically because it's a little bit better for research, but you can add more context about the companies because they might know like, hey, there's a specific news headline or specific industry trend or something like that is going to impact the way this company operates in the clinical space. And if that is something that's happening, it might be beneficial for you to know, even have a bullet point, but if not for a resume, at least for interviews, because now you can ask questions like, hey, I know it's new regulation or law or something happening within your company. How is it going to impact clinical work or the clinical team? So I definitely utilize this for that purpose, add in that context, but I use Perplexity for that specifically. I think so. So one more hand. Do we have time for one more, Chase? Okay. Maybe I didn't see him. I was imagining. Okay.
Search what I have done on ChatGPT, and I have paper.
Sure.
And I work, I used to work for, in the HR side of it, but
Yeah.
more towards the training and compliance.
Sure.
However, I'm also a storyteller,
Mhm.
so I do theater, so I have different projects which I take up. And I often see that whenever I'm doing any job search and I'm asking for prompts, what ChatGPT does, it creates stories, you know, the resume which I've provided, it just eliminates or maybe adds so many things which I haven't done in my life.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, stop lying about me, this is not me.
Yeah.
So how would you kind of rectify that kind of issues, like, how,
Yeah.
and I certainly say that please do not change the chronology of my resume
Sure.
because they want to then make it more kind of specific, which is great.
Mhm.
But again, being a recruiter myself, you know, like,
Yeah.
of course, I did that kind of 10 years back. But I felt that it's such a difficult situation at times that how would you would you have any insight on that?
Yeah, so that can go back to what we talked about earlier here. Let me zoom out for y'all. Like, for example, add instructions. I would say here, please be absolutely objective. Do not add fluff or narrative around my experiences. And you could even tell them, obviously, when you can see the output, say that is way too wordy, cut it by 50%, or make it more direct and focused on X. Do not assume anything about me if you don't know. If you don't know, ask me. So you can give it all these prompts, both high level in the project folder or the customized ChatGPT, or as they go through the conversation. But 90% of the time, the output that you get the first time is not good enough. You probably need to iterate. Yeah, of course. Okay, well, I think we're out of time. I'm gonna stick around here afterwards. So if you want to talk to me, I'm happy to chat a little bit further, but I think our time is out for the session itself.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. We have some refreshments and food in the lobby. Feel free to network. Lasse is going to be here if you want to talk as well. I'm here if you guys have any questions about training or job opportunities, resume stuff. I can give you my business card, my email, and we can talk later. But thank you for coming. We're having our other session next month, third Thursday. I don't exactly remember the date that we had up there, but this was recorded. So you can go on ncbiotech.org, look at that careers and training section, career development network, similar to where you probably found the link to this session, and we'll have the recording up. It might take a few days, but we will also share out the documents that Lasse shared with us as well. But thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it.